I just, it blew me away.
It's very good. 76 high tomorrow.
It's gonna be.
Okay, thank you all very much for being here for this special meeting of the City of Philomath City Council. Today is Wednesday, April 29th. It's currently 7:12 p.m. and we'll start with a roll call.
Spencer Irwin. Present. Hicksman. Here. Diane Crocker.
Here.
Teresa Nelson.
Here.
Rick Salsa. Present. Mayor Christopher McMorrin.
Present. Okay, the only business on our agenda tonight is discussing the invitation to bid responses for the water treatment plant, this plant project. And then we'll head out. But before that, we have public comment, if anyone's here for public comment. I don't believe we have anyone registered online. So now I turn it over to our city manager to discuss the intent to bid process.
All right, so we did get 2 bids in for the water treatment plant. Upon receiving the bids, the city staff and then city attorney helped prepare a questionnaire to help determine responsibility. Responsibility in contract language means that there's some Oregon statute language where the bidder has to show that they are responsible or able to carry out the contract. And so we ask questions about history of previous projects, size of the projects, kind of that nature. Talked about, we got resumes from their higher up employees that were going to be overseeing the project, their general that was going to be on site, and all that type of information. So we got the questionnaire out. There was a protest to the questionnaire on some of the language that was used. Was a little more narrative than what the ORS specific language is. And so we revised that back down, stuck a little bit closer to the exact language in the ORS. Sent it back out to both bidders and got both responses. Those were due by 3 o'clock last Friday. We got both of those. I reviewed those with the city attorney, public works director, and the city engineer. And we believe based on the responses that both bidders are qualified, not qualified, are responsible. They've shown they're qualified as responsible bidders. And so both bidders are good. And so we'll be going with the low bid per our state procurement laws and rules. And so I've got a letter that came in just today from the city engineer, and Orr Inc. was the low bid. Sladen Contractors was the other bidder, not to be awarded. Once the notice of intent to award goes out, there's a 7-day protest period again. And then once we're past that 7-day period, then we'll enter into contract negotiations and get our contract. Shortly after contract negotiations, we'll move forward into pre-construction meeting and start getting answers to like, when are we going to start? When are we going to be done? When is Philomath Community Services driveway going to be impacted? And all of those types of questions. So for tonight, we're just looking for approval to go ahead and release this notice of intent to award. I can tell you that the low bid came in at 13.8 million, higher than what our engineer's estimate was. Both bids were higher than the engineer's estimate, which we weren't overly surprised about. There are some specific items that we're looking at perhaps being able to shave off of this project, which is why we don't have a full narrative there. But even with the projects we look to shave, we did look at that really closely. And even if we shave some of the projects out that were listed as optional projects, the bidding preference or the bidding sequence is still the same. The low bid was still the low bid, even if we remove a couple items that were listed as optional things. So we did look at that very explicitly, but we didn't make any decisions at that point on what we were actually going to move forward and whatnot. As an example, the well on South 9th Street is in there as an option to get that up and going and try to get that connected. It's not something that has to happen with construction of the treatment plant, getting that online. And so that more than likely is, and one of those optional things that we won't do in order to save some money today. We can do that at some point in the future if we need to rehabilitate that well and get it connected. we can do that at some point in the future. We're just not gonna do it as part of this project in order to save some costs there. So I don't have an exact dollar amount, but I can tell you it won't be any more than the 13.8, which included all of the optional items, right? And so we'll get the notice of intent to award out, and then we'll get through the protest period, and then we will come back with the agreement for the city to look at for approval of those, of the contract. I'd like tonight to get approval to release the notice of intent to award, and also direction to go ahead and enter into that contract agreement and get moving forward, because time is of the essence. Both bidders are very aware of the time constraints that we've got with the ARPA funding that needs to be spent and reimbursed by the end of the calendar year. So I'm even waiting until our May meeting. That's losing another week and a half or 2 weeks on the project. So if the council's comfortable with giving staff a little bit of leniency there, I'd like to get direction to go ahead and enter into that contract and get moving forward.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions or just Councilor Crocker?
We had talked about, do they have a large enough personnel to work longer hours to get it done on time? Or are they limited on?
So we weren't able to ask like qualifying questions to qualify them for the job. It was listed as no qualifications necessary. We could only ask questions about their being a responsible bidder or not. And that's not something that we could address. We will be looking at their schedule and looking at that during the contract phase and trying to ensure that we can front load that project as much as possible. I can tell you that I think it's still possible. I don't think we're in danger, right, of not being able to get all that, but it's not like we're a month out from having to have it all done where it's impossible. I think there is still a good possibility that that work can be done and that money can be spent down in the time frame that we have, but we do need to get going. If we get 2 months into this and hit a substantial delay, we could be in jeopardy. So there's definitely concern about watching that time frame, watching the timelines closely.
And they do understand that, or you have
They
expressed
understand
that to them?
Yep. They know that there's ARPA funds involved. They know that they need to be spent this year, so they're aware. Yep.
Thank you. Other questions or discussion? Okay. I guess I'm assuming we'll get some kind of update on this at our May meeting.
In May, we'll have the letter with the breakdown and the options that we're choosing to not do. We'll have a total price.
Okay.
And we'll probably have a drafted, I won't do the full contract, but we'll have the kind of the high points of the contracts and timeframes. So hopefully we have all that wrapped up by May is the goal.
Okay.
And what's your ask, and Chris, what are you looking for?
A motion to direct staff or direct the city manager to release the notice of intent to award, and following the 7-day protest period to go ahead and enter into contract negotiations with the low bid.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Okay, it's been moved by Councilor Salsa, seconded by Councilor Crocker to direct staff to release the notice of award, and following the 7-day protest period, move forward with the contract. Is that right?
Perfect.
Look at that. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye?
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Now that you've said yes, I do just want to make you aware, we are actively working with Business Oregon, some of our elected officials at the state level, the federal level, to try to get any wiggle room that we can out of making sure that we can use those ARPA funds. So I just want you to know that your staff is working diligently and looking at multiple scenarios. We're not resting on our laurels and assuming that we're going to get this done and be able to do it. So I won't go into all the different details because there's about 4 or 5 strategies that we're kind of going after right now to ensure that we can maximize our use of the ARPA funds that have been awarded to us already. So just want you to know that we're aware, we're concerned, we're trying to even look at like the water reservoir, if there's a way that we can help get reimbursement for some of that instead of just all the money we did there, which would be about $4 million we can get reimbursement for right now, which would mean we only got like 4 million to spend between us. So there's some strategies that we're trying to do on the back end, but it's going to take some flexibility on Business Oregon where they can be flexible. They've got very stringent guidelines they have to follow as well. It's their federal dollars that came to the state that had very tight cords and strings attached to the things they have to do. And they're trying to work with us as well. So anyway, I just want you to know staff's working hard to make sure we maximize that. We're not just hoping for the best.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
What was that deadline? Was it October or was it December?
December.
December.
By the end of the year, everything has to be spent and submitted and reimbursed. So
Yeah.
our target is
The
like
15th,
November
Yeah, okay.
to try to finish spending the money and give ourselves a half 2 months to get reimbursed.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I know something I've talked about with the city manager is obviously right now our focus just needs to be on getting this done. And I am grateful for all hands on deck getting it done. I think I just want to kind of put a flag down for the council that when it is done, I want us to take a serious look back at some of the things that made this get so delayed. I think it can be tempting for the project to be done, to be like, oh, phew, okay, we're done, moving on. And I just want us to do a little postmortem, I think, after the project, just to make sure we don't run into these same types of delays in the future. Obviously, this is somewhat of a unique case with the ARPA funds, but just some of the engineering delays and other concerns, I want us to have a serious conversation about down the road. So, yeah.
That's all we have. Thank you.
All right.
Keep you posted.
I brought 2 drinks.
Justin?
Okay, if there are no final comments, questions, discussion items, then I will adjourn this meeting at 7:24 PM and we'll see you in May.